In 2019, when President Donald Trump suggested buying Greenland, the world laughed. It seemed absurd, a frozen island of just 56,000 people, far removed from global affairs. People turned the idea into jokes, memes, and ridicule. But beneath the laughter, one critical question was buried. Why would the President of the United States want to buy such an insignificant piece of land? Fast forward to 2025, and the laughter has stopped, replaced by an alarming silence. What seemed like a bizarre joke is now a geopolitical nightmare. Greenland, once dismissed as a joke, has become the focal point of a global power struggle. It now holds the key to a $175 billion U.S. defense system, and this key might just determine the future of international security. Imagine this. The memes mocking Trump's proposal are now replaced by images of hypersonic missiles launched from Russia and China, hurtling through the sky at breakneck speeds, targeting the very defense systems America depends on. And here's the terrifying truth. That defense system, valued at over $175 billion, is on the verge of collapse. And the only thing standing between disaster and survival is Greenland's critical geographical position. So, why does this remote, icy island with a tiny population hold the key to America's survival? Because in the complex web of geopolitics, one wrong move could change everything. And Greenland is the only piece of land that could make or break it all. This is where Greenland's true strategic value comes into focus. As the world shifts its attention toward modern defense systems and emerging missile threats, Greenland's geographical location becomes indispensable in the fight to protect the Northern Hemisphere. The Golden Dome, inspired by Israel's Iron Dome, is designed to defend against hypersonic missiles, ultra-fast, maneuverable weapons that travel at 5 times the speed of sound and change direction mid-flight. These missiles are nearly impossible for traditional defense systems to intercept, exposing a critical flaw in current defense strategies. Hypersonic missiles, such as Russia's Avangard and China's DF-17, travel at speeds over 3,800 miles per hour and evade traditional radar systems. U.S. Alaska-based radar is ill-equipped to track these threats, leaving the nation vulnerable. This is where Greenland comes in. Its strategic Arctic location allows early detection of missile launches before they reach the terminal dive phase, the hardest to intercept. Without Greenland, the Golden Dome would have a massive blind spot, leaving the Northern Hemisphere exposed. Greenland is the eye of the Golden Dome, the only point capable of providing early warning. Its importance is critical to the defense system's functionality. Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base, is the only U.S. outpost in the Arctic capable of tracking missile threats from the east. However, with Russia and China expanding their presence, Pituffik faces growing isolation, compromising its capacity to monitor threats and leaving Golden Dome vulnerable. The Golden Dome gap, the blind spot in Arctic defense, could leave the U.S. and allies exposed to advanced missile threats. Greenland is no longer just a remote island. It is the linchpin of the global defense system. Its strategic value is undeniable. Without it, the Northern Hemisphere remains vulnerable to hypersonic missile attacks. In short, Greenland is the key to maintaining global security. Its defense capabilities are essential to closing the Golden Dome gap and protecting the West from emerging missile threats. As the ice in the Arctic melts, many view it as an environmental disaster, but for strategists, it represents a golden opportunity. The Fifth Ocean, more precisely the Arctic waters, is becoming a key maritime route, opening up a shorter trade passage between Europe and Asia. According to the Arctic Council, the Arctic shipping lanes could reduce the shipping distance between Europe and Asia by up to 4,000 kilometers, potentially cutting the shipping time by 15-20 days. This new shipping lane has the potential to shift the balance of power and control globally, especially for countries like Russia, which is swiftly taking advantage of these changes. Russia's Northern Sea Route, NSR, is not just a new maritime route. It is a 4,000-kilometer shorter path than the Panama Canal, dramatically reducing shipping time between continents. by 2030, the Arctic shipping market is expected to grow by 50% as melting ice opens more passages. This gives Russia a substantial strategic advantage, as it controls a vast portion of these waters, making it the gatekeeper for critical international trade routes. Meanwhile, the Northwest Passage, another potential route passing through Canada, remains largely disputed and underutilized due to environmental and political factors. While Russia has quickly seized this opportunity, utilizing its massive nuclear icebreaker fleet of 40 vessels, the West is lagging behind. Russia's icebreaker fleet is already the largest in the world, and the country plans to expand it to 13 nuclear icebreakers by 2030, allowing them to dominate the Arctic sea routes. In comparison, the US and Denmark have been unable to defend their northern flank, as their Arctic capabilities have significantly diminished in the face of Russia's growing power. This puts the West in a precarious position, as Russia's military presence in the Arctic continues to grow. This makes Greenland all the more vital. Greenland is the strategic island located at the gateway to the Arctic, and whoever controls it holds the key to controlling the Suez Canal of the 21st century. Greenland isn't just a military stronghold, it is a critical link to controlling the new Arctic maritime routes, essential to future global trade. According to the Arctic Institute, Greenland's location gives it a key role in securing control over the Arctic shipping lanes, which will be crucial for global trade by the mid-21st century. In a world where 90% of global trade is transported by sea, controlling these routes would give any nation a substantial economic advantage. With the rise of the Northern Sea Route, Greenland becomes the only point to secure dominance over the Arctic, and whoever occupies the island will control the future of global trade routes. In this context, the defense of Greenland is not just a military issue but a question of global power and resource control. According to a 2019 report by the U.S. Geological Survey, Greenland's mineral wealth includes rare earth elements and lithium deposits worth over $1 trillion, making the island a critical economic asset in the battle for control of the Arctic. The West's growing weakness as Russia becomes ever stronger in the Arctic raises a critical question. Will the West act in time to solidify its strategy to protect this vital region? Or will it fall behind, conceding to Russia's dominance? Greenland's future is intertwined with global power dynamics, and securing its sovereignty is now a strategic necessity for maintaining balance in the Arctic. In the ever-intensifying global power struggle, the fight for critical minerals has become as important as military might. The U.S., despite its power, faces a crisis, a severe shortage of materials like antimony, essential for explosives and ammunition. China controls about 87% of the global supply of antimony, creating a dangerous dependency for the U.S. on foreign adversaries for a key military resource. This highlights the vulnerability in U.S. defense capabilities. But Greenland, with its vast untapped mineral wealth, could offer the U.S. a path to regain control over critical resources. 43 of the 50 most critical minerals for national security and high-tech industries are buried beneath Greenland's ice. These minerals, such as lithium and rare earth elements, are vital for everything from electric vehicle batteries to advanced military technologies. China currently dominates the supply of these materials, controlling 80% of the rare earth market and 60% of global lithium production. Greenland's resources could disrupt this monopoly, providing the U.S. with a self-sustaining supply and reducing China's grip on the global supply chain. Greenland's location in the Arctic is equally crucial. It controls the Northern Sea Route, NSR, a 4,000-kilometer shorter path than the Panama Canal, giving Russia significant strategic leverage over global trade. As Russia and China expand their presence in the Arctic, Greenland becomes a key military and economic outpost. The U.S. relies on the Patuxent Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base, the only U.S. military presence in the region, to monitor missile threats. Without control of Greenland, the U.S. risks losing this critical outpost, further weakening its strategic position in the Arctic. The U.S. must secure Greenland's resources and military advantage. The global rare earth market could reach $20 billion by 2025. And Greenland could play a pivotal role in supplying the world with the minerals needed for the next generation of technology. The U.S. faces a stark choice. act to secure Greenland's mineral wealth, or continue relying on adversaries for materials essential to its defense and economy. Securing Greenland is not only a matter of national defense, it's an economic necessity. With control over its resources, the U.S. could maintain its military edge and technological leadership. This investment is not just about military power, but securing future economic prosperity in a world where resources drive everything from technology to global influence. Greenland's push for independence reflects deep-rooted tensions from its colonial past, particularly the controversial IUD scandal, which has sparked a growing nationalist movement. However, the island's road to independence is fraught with risks, and its future hinges on the decisions of powerful global players, especially China, which has been increasing its influence across the Arctic in recent years. Greenland's society is fragile. Despite its immense natural wealth, the island's small, isolated population of only 56,000 people lacks the infrastructure to support full independence. The economy heavily relies on Denmark's subsidies, which amount to about half of Greenland's GDP, and its military protection. If Greenland severed ties with Denmark, it could face a financial crisis, lacking the means to support its infrastructure and public services. This would make it vulnerable to external powers, particularly China. Without continued support from the US or Denmark, Greenland would be forced to seek financial aid from other countries, potentially falling into China's debt trap. China has strategically increased its presence globally, providing loans to nations in need. According to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, China has financed over $200 billion in infrastructure projects across the developing world through its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Greenland, deprived of subsidies, could find itself financially dependent on China, with Beijing potentially using this leverage to gain significant control over Greenland's political and economic future. This growing dependency on China would allow the nation to establish a Northern Silk Road, giving China control over Arctic shipping routes, thus isolating the US from Europe. This is especially alarming, as Arctic shipping is projected to increase by 50% by 2030, with China eyeing these routes as a strategic trade corridor to Europe. More concerning, Greenland could become a covert military outpost for China, allowing it to establish permanent infrastructure, such as ports, airfields, and surveillance stations under the guise of economic development. The island's vast mineral resources and strategic location would provide China with a permanent military presence in the Arctic, transforming Greenland into a military observation post, monitoring US and NATO movements and threatening the security of both North America and Europe. Greenland stands at a critical crossroads. While the desire for independence is understandable, the harsh reality of global geopolitics means that choosing independence without US or Danish support could lead to China's dominance in the Arctic. Greenland's future depends on whether it can maintain sovereignty without falling into the influence of foreign powers like China, whose long-term Arctic strategy is already underway. For Denmark and the US, the stakes are equally high. According to the US Geological Survey, USGS, Greenland holds an estimated $1 trillion worth of untapped mineral resources, including rare earth elements, lithium, and zinc, thus all crucial for military and technological supremacy. Greenland's decision will determine whether the Arctic remains free from foreign control or becomes a battleground for global powers. The clock is ticking, and the world is watching. The situation in Greenland is a delicate balancing act between sovereignty and survival. Denmark faces a stark political reality. It cannot simply sell its citizens or abandon them to the whims of international geopolitics. Greenland, on the other hand, is determined not to become a colony once again, still scarred by its painful colonial past. However, both sides must confront the question of how to navigate the path to true independence, one that ensures not only self-determination, but also the economic and security stability required to thrive. One potential solution is the Compact of Free Association (OFA) model, similar to the agreements that the U.S. has with territories like Micronesia and the Marshall Islands. Under TUFA, Greenland could gain full political independence, yet still rely on the U.S. for national defense and security. This arrangement allows for Greenland to maintain its sovereignty while benefiting from the protection and financial support provided by the US, especially given the island's vulnerability to global powers like China. The COFA model offers a pragmatic approach, where Greenland can have the autonomy it craves while avoiding the dire risks of falling into foreign debt traps or becoming a battleground for great power conflict. The US benefits as well, securing a strategic foothold in the Arctic and gaining direct access to Greenland's abundant resources without the full commitment of annexation. From an economic standpoint, the COFA agreement is also highly attractive for both parties. The US can help Greenland develop its infrastructure, tapping into the wealth of natural resources beneath the ice. The sheer volume of resources, from rare earth minerals to lithium and oil, could transform Greenland into a highly profitable territory. What's more, with US assistance, Greenland's people could potentially become millionaires overnight through a combination of resource extraction, global trade, and investment. This arrangement would not just bring wealth, but the kind of economic prosperity the island has long needed. It's a deal too good to refuse for a population grappling with poverty and limited economic opportunities. However, Greenland must carefully weigh this option. The idea of full annexation by the US, making Greenland the 51st state, may seem extreme, but it is not entirely without merit. The US would gain a direct and irrevocable stake in the Arctic, ensuring its dominance in the region. For Greenland, becoming a state would come with significant financial benefits and access to US security guarantees, though it would also mean losing the full sovereignty it desires. In reality, the choice is not between full independence or full annexation. It's about finding the right balance between autonomy and security. Greenland needs to ask itself, how much independence is worth the potential risks? And is the path of COFA, or a more permanent relationship with the US, the most viable solution for long-term survival and prosperity? To conclude, one thing is clear. While Donald Trump's manner of addressing issues may have been crude, the geopolitical logic behind his infamous idea to buy Greenland cannot be dismissed. Trump's suggestion, although met with laughter and mockery, was based on a solid understanding of strategic value. Greenland is not just a barren, icy landmass. It is the linchpin of a larger global struggle, the fight for control of the Arctic, the future of global trade routes, and access to some of the planet's most valuable resources. The bigger picture is undeniable. The Arctic race is already underway, and Greenland is the unsinkable aircraft carrier that the US cannot afford to lose to adversaries. As China and Russia expand their influence in the region, Greenland becomes not only a territorial asset, but also a strategic military and economic gateway. Control over Greenland is control over the future of the Arctic, and ultimately, global dominance. If the US stands idly by, it risks ceding this vital region to other powers, weakening its influence and security in the process. The clock is ticking, and the choices facing Greenland and the US are monumental. Greenland stands at the crossroads of autonomy and security, with decisions that will shape the island's future and the future of global power dynamics for generations. But the question remains, will the people of Greenland choose freedom in poverty, or will they align themselves with a more powerful nation in exchange for prosperity and protection? Now, it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think? Should Greenland pursue full independence despite the potential risks, or should it align itself with the US to ensure its security and economic future? Leave your thoughts below.